Hey, folks, welcome back to Tommy Highway TV Live Edition. I, as always, am your host, Tommy Highway, and with me I have my right arm, my partner in crime, my main man, Tim from UFO Man Channel. Tim, would you like to say hello?
Hey.
And we're just going to do a live stream tonight because we're going to talk about, there's a lot that happened this week. There was a lot in politics specifically that happened this week. So we're going to kind of recap some of this. I think we're going to step right into it with Chuck Schumer and the threat that he made against the two justices by name of the United States Supreme Court. For those of you who are not aware of this, during a heated abortion rally, because there's a case going on right now in the Supreme Court that basically states that the abortion centers have to be within 30 miles or something like that of an actual hospital in case there's complications, which, sounds pretty damn reasonable if you ask me. But for whatever reason, these women out there that were such ghoulish women that all they really think about is actually murdering their own babies, they were out there having a rally. Right. Chuck Schumer got out there and let his mind and his mouth go separate ways. And he told that he shouted at toward the Supreme Court, and he said by name, Kavanaugh and Gorsuch, that you're going to reap the whirlwind and you're going to pay the price. Okay? Now listen, these are Supreme Court justices. These people are not elected officials. Okay? They're not going to be running for an election anytime soon. So I guess the question is, what exactly did Chuck Schumer mean by that? Tim, did you have any thoughts?
No, but I do have one thing. The Supreme Court is supposed to be free of retribution from anyone or any group. Mm-hmm. That is guaranteed by the Constitution. So when Schumer came out and made his grandstand threat directly at and by name to Gorsuch and Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court, he violated that established, program. Sure. So the thing is that if that's established, that these court justices are free from any type of retribution or payback for whatever decisions they deem necessary to make, then Schumer violated the constitutional law. Where are the charges? Charges should be brought against the man, in my opinion.
I couldn't agree more. The Supreme Court, their basic function is to be the adults in the room, okay? Right. Their function is they're supposed to be completely non-biased, completely non-partisan, and that's how they're supposed to operate. Now, when you've got a sitting, the minority leader, a Senate minority leader, standing up there, actually literally threatening two Supreme Court justices, you have to look at the big picture here. What if some nut job takes that and runs with it? I mean, do we have to?
Right, exactly.
Do they have to worry about their lives now, their safety? And that's the kind of crap right there that Chuck Schumer, that's what they're pushing. Okay,
right. He's inciting violence.
Exactly. I mean, that's insurrection, as far as I'm concerned.
And it wasn't just the initial threat either. He actually got into his car, drove over to the head office, the corporate office where the justices sit, their place of work, got out and incited more violence with, you're going to get paid back, the whirlwind and all that.
Right.
He said that to a group of left-wing activists who were all stirred up about the abortion issue outside of the Supreme Court itself. So he not only said it outside of the chambers, he said it outside of the Supreme Court. So he made it an effort to go the extra mile to say it again.
And he was actually pointing over his shoulder, pointing at the Supreme Court. Now, when questioned about this, what does he say? Oh, well, what I meant was that the Republicans are going to pay. No, that's not what he said. What he said was very, very clear. That was a really stupid and bullshit excuse, if you ask me.
Right. He didn't say Republicans. He's just trying to cover his ass. Pardon my French. Exactly. He was directly directing it at Gorsuch and Kavanaugh. He even said their names twice.
Yes.
And said it clearly and loudly. So what I'm saying to you is, if you were being threatened, and somebody said, okay, Joe Smith and Jane Smith, you are going to reap the whirlwind. Mm-hmm. You are going to be paid back if you go ahead with your awful decisions. And you're a Supreme Court justice. How would you feel?
Oh, exactly.
That's a threat, man. I'd be looking at my personal safety.
Mm-hmm. That's a direct threat, and it's an undermining of, again, probably, well, the very highest echelon of our judicial system. I mean, it's a direct threat against that. See, it's like you were saying earlier, in the conversation we had before the stream. It's the Democrats being crybabies. That's all they've been ever since the election. It's wham, this and Trump said it himself. I think it was today when he was touring the Nashville area. You know, the devastation from the tornadoes.
Yeah.
You know, like he said, no matter what, if he could snap his fingers right now and make all of that go away, they'd still say he was doing a bad job.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
And they do that, and we've discussed this before. They do that because they know there's a certain part of the population, a certain part of their constituency that are just complete blind idiots, and they will believe whatever they are told because they're being told by somebody that they consider to be their better.
I actually heard a comment today. I don't know if you heard this, Tommy, when Trump was touring the CDC today, that he was accused of not taking necessary precautions by not wearing a mask.
I hadn't heard that one, but it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. So there's another one.
Yeah. I mean, if it doesn't matter, Donald Trump could run in, he could be his motorcade could be driving past a burning building of an orphanage, and he could jump out of himself, run up there and rescue 9 orphans one by one, and then they'd bitch about it because he didn't get the 10th one. You know, that's the kind of thing. I mean, he just, no matter what.
Oh, and that he probably set the fire too.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, well, climate change.
Yeah, that's it.
You know, the man can do no right. And it wasn't this bad for Obama, because the fact of the matter is we got a hell of a lot of legislation done in 8 years with Obama. Some of it was okay, some of it sucked, but business took place. And what we have with the left-wing establishment and the United States government is almost no business is taking place because they're so focused, just laser focused on bringing down a sitting president for nothing. For no reason.
For nothing, for no reason. Right.
I mean, can you name a person in the modern era that has been, in such a short time, investigated as much as Donald Trump? I mean, think about it. You got the New York district attorney, that black district attorney trying to make a name for herself. She's investigated him. The attorney general has investigated him. With a special counsel's investigated him. I mean, there's been like 4 or 5 major investigations into Donald Trump, and so far they can't even tell you that the man's shit stinks. So, pardon my language, but I mean, that's just kind of where we're at here. He's the most persecuted person that I can remember in my lifetime. And see, here's the thing about it. It really gets me about this whole thing. Donald Trump is not only the president of the United States, but Trump is also an American citizen. And being an American citizen, he's afforded certain inalienable rights. And the presumption of innocence, of course, being number one. But for whatever reason, because it's Donald Trump and it's the left over there, they don't care. The hell with due process, the hell with the rules. I mean, lock him up. That's all they can think about.
Right. They take away his right to fair representation as well. I mean, he hasn't had any representation. I mean, I've been watching the news lately, and they're like all focused on the Democratic primaries. So and so won Minnesota, so and so won Florida, blah blah blah. But they're only talking about the Democratic primary. So the thing is, you haven't heard the Republican side. When you hear that Donald Trump won in a landslide in Minnesota for the Republicans, that's because nobody was running against him.
True.
Which is the truth. Nobody ran against him because they knew they would be defeated. He is winning all the Republican primaries. Do they report that? No.
Well, I read that he's actually getting more votes than any. He's breaking the primary record votes with people that are actually voting for him, and he is running unopposed, and people are still going in there by the tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands and voting for the man.
Right. Even people that used to be devout Democratic people,
Mm-hmm.
they are turning against their affiliation with the Dems
Yep.
and voting Republican
Mm-hmm.
because they're sick of the BS.
Right.
I have to be honest. I'm an independent, but I have to say I am extremely sick of the BS and the bickering between the two different parties and other parties as well. It's gotten to be a free for all,
Yep.
and it's not getting us anywhere. We're not getting any work done for the country. We're not doing anything for the country except, if you really do your study and your research, President Trump is getting things done for the country.
Mm-hmm.
He's
Sure.
doing it behind the scenes, and he's still putting up with all this negative rhetoric.
Right.
It's just frustrating. What do you think, Tommy?
He's the most engaged president that I can say in my lifetime for sure. I mean, Donald Trump is always out there every single day, bunch of meetings, everything's public. I mean, he can't be more open as a president in terms of his personality. Let's say he's
Right.
constantly out there getting things done. When you saw Obama, how often did you see Obama on TV? Once a week, maybe twice on a good week. And Bush the same way. If it wasn't a war thing, then you didn't see him on TV. But Trump is definitely engaged. There's no question about it. Now, you brought up an interesting subject, the Democratic primary. That also happened this week.
Right. Super Tuesday.
Michael Bloomberg. What we just witnessed here, folks, is we just witnessed the fact that no matter how much money you have, you cannot buy the presidency. You have to have more money.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
He choked and quit.
Yeah, he did. And the fact that he went on that debate stage in Vegas and he wasn't ready for Elizabeth Warren to turn around and immediately, like right off the bat, like first thing, ask him that question about those non-disclosure agreements that his female employees had signed, in this day and age of the Me Too era. And he wasn't ready for the snap answer for that. Like, oh, well, bam. Instead, he was like, he had no idea that question was coming. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it wasn't just that either. It was the fact that he was thinking that his fabulous marketing campaign would actually lift him up to the nomination.
Yep. He hired a bunch of meme people and to create memes and stuff like that. And he spent, what was it, $500 million or some crazy number,
Yeah, what was it? He won the island of Samoa.
America Samoa, the territory. Yeah.
That's it.
That was it. All that money. That guy is about as likable as herpes. Okay. He really is. And so, but he's out of the race. And then Elizabeth Warren, was it today? I believe it was today.
Today she gave up today.
Pocahontas packed it up and went down the Trail of Tears, apparently.
Yep. Hold on a second. I lost my mic.
If you listen to Elizabeth Warren, and don't listen when I say when she's speaking, don't like listen past her voice. Don't listen to what she's saying, but listen to her voice. And what you'll hear is because that's the cadence at which she talks. That's a manic personality. I mean, obviously I'm not a psychiatrist, but I mean, that's a manic personality. I've seen this before in almost 50 years. So it's good that she's out of there. It's good. Besides the fact that she had no idea, how to pay for any of her policies. She wants to put a transgender person in charge of the educational system. The transgender thing. Listen, here's the thing about transgenders. They're less than 1/10 of 1% of the American population. That's it. That's all the transgender people that there are. But yet somehow they've been pushed to the front of the line, like their needs need to be met before anyone else's. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, even veterans are displaced.
Yeah. Sure.
What about veterans, Army soldiers, and men and women that are on the front lines right now? Where are their rights being honored? They're not. They're being displaced by mediocre subjects. I mean, come on.
And illegal immigrants. We're treating the illegal immigrants better than we're treating our own soldiers coming back from war. Those people should be hooked up. Okay. We should give them every chance. in the world to be able to succeed.
Right.
But instead, what we have is a bunch of politicians all over the country, Democrat places, where they put their hand on the Bible, they raise their right hand, and they take an oath to protect and serve the American people. But they turn right around, and those foreign people, those illegal immigrants, those people are a lot more important. And that's just how it is. That's just the way it is.
They're trying to convince us to believe that because they're people, they have the same rights as American citizens.
Right.
And in an essence, as people, they have rights, but as an American citizen, they do not.
Nope.
Because they are not American citizens. If they come here and get naturalized, of course. If they come here and follow the rules and regulations and becoming an American citizen, then I would say, yeah,
sure,
more power to you. You can have everything you want.
Welcome aboard.
Well, as much as we get, which, believe it or not, isn't as much as you think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with Tommy. The other thing I was going to mention is that the one thing that frustrates me about illegal immigration is not necessarily the fact that it exists. What bothers me is the type of people that we're letting into the country, the ones that aren't vetted. Most of them aren't vetted because
right.
over in Mexico, they don't have a vetting system.
Nope.
So of course they have no records. So everybody that comes over could be a serial killer, a sociopath, or be spreading the coronavirus, whatever, rapist, whatever. And we would not know it. The U.S. wouldn't know it. Now, I don't care how prepared you think your government is. We're not going to know it because they say, oh, we got to vet these people first. Well, how can you vet them if there is no written record?
You don't even know these people's real birthdays, and there's no way to find that crap out.
Or their real name.
Yeah, Guatemala, what do they got? What are they keeping records of people over there in Guatemala born in the hill country? I don't think so. That's not what they're doing.
I'll give you a for instance. On YouTube, how many people know that there are people on YouTube using a fake name?
Oh, tons.
A lot of them. Yeah, sure. Like me, for instance, I'm using UFO Man. That's not my real name.
Right.
So how do you vet UFO Man? You vet it by the information allowed or the provenance that goes with it.
Right.
But if someone doesn't have any provenance, any backup information to vet their name, then they're like, I don't know, like getting in and being able to do anything they want without having any controls on them. And the thing is you got to have controls to run a free nation. It sounds kind of backward, but it's the truth. To be free, there needs to be controls to control the situation so that you can have freedom.
Right. Yeah. Otherwise, you just have nothing but chaos. And that's why you have rules. Freedom. I mean, freedom really isn't free, but that's why you have those controls and put in place with laws and rules and regulations and things like that. But back to the illegal immigrant thing. I mean, you look at these angel families. These people are they've lost a family member because of an illegal immigrant. We had here just recently with they're letting them go in New York. Somebody just got raped and stabbed to death and everything else by an illegal immigrant. I read where a 3-year-old had been raped by one. Over and over and over. Now, listen, again, these politicians, they put their hand on a Bible, they raised their right hand, and they took an oath. They're clearly not taking care of their people. Now, I think there needs to be a heavy penalty for that. And I think that we need to put our big girl panties on, okay, pull them way up, and we need to start changing some things around here. And those politicians, when a person like that, they let a guy out and he rapes somebody, guess what? That politician right there needs to pay the price for that. He's definitely out of office, if not completely in prison for the rest of his life. Take him out and hang the son of a bitch. I'm fine with that too. But this needs to happen. These people are not taking care of their responsibilities. Now, if I go to work every day and I stop taking care of my responsibilities at work, they fire me. I get fired for that. But yet how these politicians can look these angel families in the face that they failed on purpose. They failed. Okay. Purposely failed these folks. And and live with themselves. How can they do that? I mean, they care more about the illegal immigrants than they care about the
American citizens.
because they know illegal immigrant couples are going to have 6.5 children versus Americans 2.5 children. They know that, and they also know that they can actually control their education to the point to where they're going to get all the votes from them, and that's what it is. It's a long con. Bottom line, that's what it's all about.
I believe that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have a video, Tommy, that I would like to play.
Let's roll it.
About Schumer. Let me cue it up here.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. Share screen. It doesn't say anything about sound on my side, so you're going to have to do it on that side, I guess. Select a window screen. Oops. That ain't working. Just hold on a second here.
Sure.
For some reason, they ain't working. I'm working on it. Yeah. Let's see here. StreamYard. Screen 1. Here it is. I got it. Okay. Okay, here we go. Can you hear it?
No.
Okay, hold on a minute. It didn't have an enable volume sign on it.
I don't
Well,
see
well, we're having difficulties with bringing up a video, but if we can, we will try to bring it up in a few minutes. Go ahead, Tommy.
Well, so now you've got, so we've gone through the primaries. So it looks like it's going to be between Bernie and Joe Biden. Okay. My thoughts on Joe Biden, I guess we'll start with him. First of all, if you're an American female into this whole Me Too, I'm a feminist, blah, blah, blah movement business, that's your business and that's great and all that. But I can't imagine any woman that could support Joe Biden. And the guy's a pervert. There's no doubt about it. Nobody gets that close to women like that. Nobody does that. I've never known a man that would walk up and sniff the back of someone's hair that he wasn't familiar with, that he would kiss on them and massage their shoulders and all of that. I've never known anybody that would do anything like that. But Joe Biden doesn't have a problem with it at all. Okay. Now, he's the man's creepy, but because these women are Democrats and Biden's a Democrat, they are willing to go ahead and look right past that like it didn't even happen. They don't care because it's Joe Biden. Now, if Joe Biden were a Republican running for office with the track record like that and all those videos of him doing all that weird stuff, do you think that the Democrats wouldn't be shitting their pants? I mean, these people would be jumping up and down, okay? You see, that's the double standard. But the other thing about Biden, though, is, and I think that anybody that watched the 2012 vice presidential debate where he squared off against Paul Ryan, I think anybody that's being honest that actually watched that, what they saw an old man that was losing his mind. Okay, he wasn't right. He's not all there. And that was 2012. In fact, it was so obvious that Paul Ryan about halfway through backed off of him because it was just like, it was just, give me a break. So Biden, not only is he a pervert, but the guy's losing his mind. I mean, you listen to his gaffes that he's had lately. I mean, every time he speaks, he has a major gaffe. Yeah, he forgot the Declaration of Independence. Just one thing after another. Half the population has been killed by gun violence. He just doesn't know what the hell's going on.
He almost seems like he's slipping into early dementia.
I think he's further into, or I think it's probably midway through the process.
No, the reason I say that is because my profession throughout my life has been nursing. I was an LPN for 25 years, and I can honestly say I've been around my share of people with senility, and he is exhibiting those traits.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say, and it isn't just occasional memory loss. It's like, for instance, the other day he was at a speech. I don't know exactly where he was. I'm sure it was a rally, but he said, "Let me introduce my wife." And he looked to the left. He
Yep.
said, "This is my wife," and it actually was his sister.
Right.
And then he said, "Oh, wait a minute. They switched on me. They switched on me," like it was imperative that they should not have switched because that would have been the only way for him to remember who they were.
Yeah, that or that the only way to cover up the gaffe was, oh, they switched on me. He also said that he introduced himself as something else during that. Yeah. I mean, the guy is, it's going to happen to every one of us. It's going to happen to all of us. Okay. But it's happening to him. I mean, there's
Yeah,
no,
it is happening to him.
yeah,
It's sad. It is sad, but
it
it
is
is
that.
happening. It is happening to him. Does that make him any less of a politician? No, but does it make him any less of a safe politician? Yes.
Right. Right. The guy he's, what is he, 77, I think, or something. He's way up there in the 70s. And, in 4 years, if he lives that long, if he continues to breathe oxygen for that long, then his mind's going to be mush. Basically, what a vote for Joe Biden means is that he's going to be a puppet. He's going to be somebody's puppet, and they're going to pull the strings, and that's how Joe Biden is going to govern, because he doesn't have the mental faculties to be able to do it the old-fashioned way anymore. They're just not
No,
there.
no, he doesn't.
No.
And if you elect the other candidate, Bernie Sanders, you're voting for a socialist government. Are you sure you really want that? I mean, come on, think about that.
Yeah.
Think about Venezuela. Take a really good look at the Venezuelan government and
Their
how it
democratic
ran their
socialism worked.
country. It didn't work. It destroyed their country. It destroyed their economy. I thought we were trying to rebuild our economy. I thought we wanted to become a strong country again. And if that's what you're looking for, don't vote for Bernie. That's just my opinion.
I read somewhere today that he's vowing to cut half the military.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just craziness. I mean, the guy, Bernie Sanders, is a Marxist. He's been a Marxist all of his life. He lived on welfare before he got the job in Congress, and he is a Marxist. I mean, it's not that he can call himself a democratic socialism all he wants to. I can call myself a dairy cow if I want. You know what? I can't give milk. That man is.
So you're saying he's not socialist then? He's using that as a ruse to cover up his communism. I got you.
Yeah, you can't say, it's not like you can get elected in this country and say I'm a communist, because that ain't going to happen. And that's why they call themselves democratic socialists, and that's what it is. It's nothing but communism. And our young people, what we've been teaching them in our school systems, because we haven't had our friggin' eye on the ball, was that socialism and communism, and that it's a blissful society. Everybody has everything they want. And all the wealth is distributed evenly for everybody. And that's, when you're 14, 15, 16, up to 18, 20 years old, okay, I can see the pretty picture that it paints. Okay. I can see that. But the problem is the picture never, when they're finished painting the picture, it's never a pretty picture. It's bloody and it's gory, and it's people starving to death, just like Venezuela. But we tell our kids that that's the way to go. And the other thing is, Bernie Sanders just grabbed his chest, had a heart attack, and had stents installed. And he's in his upper 70s. I mean, the guy maybe has another year or two at most to live. I mean, statistically speaking, when someone has, stents installed at his age, dude, the party's almost over. And like we've said before, if you're really going to vote for Bernie, you better be in love with his VP. You better be in love, because that's who's going to lead your country.
Yeah, and if it's who did you say it was the other day, Tommy? In our last video, you said you said that was Secretary of State. Who do you think would be his VP, Tommy?
You talking Sanders?
Yeah, Bernie.
Well, he's going to have to try to pander, so in order to get the vote. So I assume that he would probably select a minority female, I would guess, because he's going to have to pander to. I see her being black, like that Stacey Abrams or whatever. I could see that him trying to pull that one, even though she's a piece of crap. I mean, she's worthless, but because she's black and female and in politics, I could see that. I could also even see possibly him tapping Warren, because
Elizabeth Warren. Yeah.
They're both socialists. She's less radical than he is, but still, I mean, it's still socialism any way you slice it.
Could you see that Warren and Sanders versus Trump and Pence.
Yep.
That would almost be a devastating landslide in the Republican way.
Well,
Wow.
I would think so. You keep seeing these polls where everybody beats Trump, and even on Fox News. But then again, we know what to think about polls after the 2016 election. I mean, he had less than 8% chance of becoming president when he was running against Clinton.
Yeah.
And she had a 92% margin of, a victory over him. All the bets were in. It was going to be Clinton, Clinton, Clinton. And then we saw that night how things changed quickly. And man, they sure did. He ran the table against a skilled politician, and Donald Trump had never held office in his life.
Right.
So my point is the polls are bullshit for the most part, I think.
Yeah, I wouldn't believe the polls.
No, nobody's ever polled me.
Word of mouth generally speaks volumes. I've actually heard more people privately say to me that they were leaning toward the right rather than leaning toward the left. Now, I hate to say it, I live in a state that's pretty much left-wing dominated.
So do I.
But because this state always turns blue usually in the election. But that doesn't mean there isn't a large group of right-wing or just straight on Republican viewpoint people or independent voters that are not going to vote for any of the Democratic candidates just based on their rhetoric. I mean, come on. And the fact of their inaction in government. I mean, I'm not a really well-spoken political analyst type, but I can honestly say that as an average citizen in the United States of America, I do not want to see a government that isn't working to do something positive. They're not working on anything at this point because they're not allowed to, because one side of the dual house system is broken.
Yes.
They are just not able to have partisan accomplishment.
The only thing that the Democrats want to do is they want to, number one, get rid of Trump. They want to abort as many babies as humanly possible, like they want to break some kind of record for that. And I mean, those are the two main things right there. But I mean, and the other thing would be complete and total control over their masses. And that's what this has all been about. I mean, that's why you got Chuck Schumer out there, hyping up those nut job women at that rally. So he was threatening the Supreme Court. That's why they do that, because they know that they have that element in their constituency, and they have to keep those people morally outraged all the time by something. And now they're trying to use coronavirus. But the problem with coronavirus is, like we've talked about every other outrage that they've created, now the media is trying to run with the coronavirus. But the coronavirus, it looks like it's not killing people. I mean, it's just not as deadly as they're making it out to be. And that you just can't make those numbers up. You can't make up the dead body numbers. You can't do it. Well, we got 11 deaths, and they were all older people that had underlying medical conditions. If a flu would have swept through that rest home where all these people are dying at, if a flu had done that, there would probably be 11 deaths. I mean, it's a cycle of life thing.
Or more, yeah.
Yeah. So, I think Trump, they ripped him when he first came out at the end of January, and he put those travel restrictions in, right off the bat. He jumped right on that shit, China and somewhere else. And Chuck Schumer, there's tweets out there, and we have the tweets, okay? We have the tweets. And he was saying that that's just Trump furthering his racist agenda again. Okay. But then they turn around and they tell their constituents that, oh, well, Trump hadn't done enough. He hasn't done enough. Well, listen, he did this and you called him a racist. So, but those people will eat it up. My mother in Iowa is the same way. I mean, she will not vote for Republican no matter what. It's never going to happen. And she will overlook everything that the Democrats do. She will absolutely overlook it. And there are just so many people out there like it. They don't care. They don't care that Joe Biden is out there in the Me Too era grabbing asses and everything else that he's been doing and sniffing hair. They don't care about that because he's a Democrat, and they're programmed for life to ignore anything that a Democrat does and focused on everybody else. And that's exactly what they do.
Yeah.
What else have we got in the news this week? Hang on a second. Yeah, we talked about Trump visiting the CDC today. Gave a speech.
Right.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
What else do we got here? Oh, Trump sued CNN.
Yeah. CNN.
Because they're making things up. I mean, that's the thing. It's not journalism over there. It's all opinion. And they're making things up. They're blatantly lying to their audience. Okay.
Right.
They do that all the time. Now, MSNBC's bad too, but CNN is the absolute king. And
I always call that the Clinton News Network.
I know, or the Communist News Network.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, and this has been going on now for years. It's been unchecked. What they've slowly taken over the minds of the weak-minded out there, of the feeble-minded people in America. And now the media rule them. They can tell them to think however they want to tell them to think. That Brzezinski woman on that Morning Joe show, she said it. She came out and said that we tell people how to think. I mean, Mika Brzezinski, or whatever the hell her name is.
Yep. And it actually works. I mean, look, they do it with advertising for food and for liquor and for cigarettes and everything. They tell you what to smoke. They tell you what to drink. They tell you where to buy your food. Go to Walmart, get a special on this. And what do? You go to Walmart, you go and get it. Because they're programming you. They're programming you at every level of society, including politics.
Yeah. Yeah.
They want you to do what they want you to do.
Right.
Kind of like, that's why, do you think the Democrats and for the most part the Republicans are really listening to the individual? I would have to say no. I'd say that they're fighting amongst each other for power, for control. Yeah. And right now, I hate to say it, the Republicans have the upper hand. And that's why the Democrats are ticked off.
Right. That's exactly what it is. The Republicans have such a grip on power in the United States government right now that they are preventing the left from forwarding its agenda and putting that on the American people, and they can't stand it. And that's what this whole thing has been about. That's why they've been so desperate to get rid of Trump since the day of the inauguration. And they're willing to make all this stuff up. And there's still people out there to run around and will swear that the president is a active Russian agent. I mean, and it's like, okay, where's your evidence? Well, they did an investigation. Yes, they did. And they came up with no evidence. Oh, sure they did. Okay, what evidence? And they can't tell you what evidence.
Yeah, they can't specify what they're talking about.
Right. They don't care. I mean, it's all they know is Orange Man bad, and that's it. That's all they care about. Orange Man bad.
Right.
And you've even had people like Bill Maher come out on their show and say, it'd be worth the economy crashing just to get rid of Trump. So people lose their job.
Yeah. See, they're not worried about you.
Right.
Because if they're willing to crash the economy, to make people even go to the extreme lengths of maybe even killing themselves because their job is gone and their capacity to make a living and support their family is gone, and they feel like a loss, and then they jump from a building. Come on. That could be caused by those politicians that are thinking only about the power they have, not necessarily about you.
No. They're not. They don't think about us at all. These you look at career politicians like Nancy Pelosi. I mean, her district is a dump. It's one of the nastiest places on the planet, not just the country. But instead of her constituents holding her accountable for that sort of thing, what do? They continue to vote her in and continue to keep her in power because they're slaves. That's why they're slaves to their own ignorance. And this has been going on forever.
Yeah, Dot says the elite are pitting opposing sides against each other so that people are distracted and don't come after them. Yeah, I would have to agree.
Yep, I couldn't say it better myself. Absolutely.
And they also said socialism works for the socialists until they run out of other people's money.
Yeah, that's what Margaret Thatcher back in the day, she was quoted as saying that, and she's right. There's no question about it. I mean, that's what socialism is. The actual premise of socialism isn't to spread the wealth. That's not what it's about. It's about turning the citizen into the subject. Okay, and that's what socialism does. Once your country adopts citizenship, and I said this earlier today on another thing I was doing, once the country adopts a socialistic stance and policy and government, then at that point, we're no longer citizens of the United States of America. We're subjects of the government. And that's how that shit works every single time.
Right. I have to say this, though. Even though we have the disparity between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party at this point, and even though the disparity is widening every day because of the stupidity of the Democratic viewpoint, and that doesn't mean I am saying that every Democrat is stupid. I am not. What I am saying is the ones that are very extreme at the moment, the left wing extremists, they're the ones that are being stupid because they have hurt feelings. They are trying to recover from what they feel they lost, which they did, by the way, when Trump was elected.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just give the man a chance to do his job, and maybe you can do your job like you swore an oath to do, which you're not doing. And then maybe we can get some work done in this country and actually achieve what Trump set out to do in the first place, which was to make America great again. Mm-hmm. America was great, and we are great. And we're going to be even greater if we work together rather than fighting at the, it's just crazy. We're fighting like children.
Yeah.
Stop it. Just stop it. That's all I say.
Bernie Sanders comes out there and starts talking about his movement as a revolution. It's a revolution. It's a revolution. Okay, a revolution. Who in the hell in the history of the human species has ever had a revolution over prosperity? When they had all the prosperity in the world, the best the country's ever done. Now we want to have a revolution. Revolution to what? I mean, what are they planning on doing here?
It's a whirlwind.
Yeah,
it's a whirlwind.
At times I join the world. Look, I mean, and it's like I keep saying, if you're gonna vote for Sanders, you better love his number 2. You better love his VP, because that man right there is a dead man walking.
If you want to vote for Biden, you better like whoever they put in his place.
Yeah, right.
Because he is not going to be deemed credible.
Right.
As a president after a while due to his senility.
And he's going to have to debate Trump. He's going to have to debate Trump several times, and that's going to show. That's going to Trump is going to poke holes through that so easily.
And you're going to see him for what he is. Yeah. And he's probably not a bad man. He's just messed up because of his dementia. And there's nothing I can say about that other than the fact that the man is ill and he needs help, and we need to help him by not having him become president. Because would you want someone with dementia, to have his finger on the nuclear key?
No, because it won't be him. If let's just say, hypothetically speaking, if Trump, or rather if Biden were to win the election, then his handlers are going to be running the country. It's going to be the people on the left. It's not going to be Joe Biden, because at this point, he needs to be sitting there in the chair looking out a window at a pretty tree or something, because that's what happens when we get old. We lose our minds. And like we said before, it's going to happen to everybody. It's time to retire. I mean, they're running a dead man walking here. As far as he's definitely a zombie. Damn.
Dot says Bernie was praising Venezuela a few years ago.
Right.
And they find it very disturbing. And I said, yes, very sickening. What Tommy stated in a video we had
yesterday.
Yesterday, okay. He said point blank that there are girls selling their bodies for food in Venezuela. Do we want that here in the U.S.? Do we want your son or your daughter out there on the street at, say, 12 years old,
Right.
7 years old, 8 years old, selling their bodies just
Yep.
so that you have food because your president, Bernie Sanders,
Mhm.
siphoned off all the money and crashed the economy?
Yeah.
And no longer is there any money, any flow of goods in the country, no transportation of goods to your store, so all your store shelves are empty.
Mhm.
Do you
Bread
want
lines,
that?
bread lines, cheese lines.
Soup
Basically,
lines?
yeah, basically all the shit that the old Soviet Union used to put on their people, back in the 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. Same thing. That's what Bernie wants here. And he's got these young people, and it's not just the young people, though. It's everybody that supports him that are even adults. And like I've said before, when you see an adult Bernie Sanders supporter, when you see one of those, you're looking at somebody right there that has absolutely no gumption or ambition or drive whatsoever. That's it. They just want to be taken care of, cradle to grave. Just give me enough money to live, and I'll close my mouth and let you do whatever the hell you want to do.
I had a friend of mine the other day say this to me. He said, Trumpity, Trump, Trump, Trump. What has he done for me lately? I looked him dead in the face and I said, for you. What do you mean for you? I said, he's here to help the nation as a whole, everyone, not
Mhm.
just you. He's not here to run over and get the remote control for you so that you can turn the channel on your TV easier.
Your
He's not here to wipe your butt. He's not here to turn around and get you some food at the store. He's here to help the nation as a whole, to
to
pass
give them the
legislation
opportunity
that
to
will
help
help you.
themselves. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
He's here to teach man to fish.
yeah. Thank you. Yep.
He's not here to give you the fish, which the new generation under Bernie Sanders is wanting.
Yeah.
You
Just give,
want him, oh, give me the fish.
and I want it now.
Yeah, I want it now, and you're going to give it to me, so I'll vote for you because you're giving me the fish. But what happens when the fish runs out?
Right.
Then what happens? What happens? You're unable to fish. You can't feed yourself. What happens? You starve.
Right.
You end up being in food lines like in Venezuela. I mean, I would say this to any young voter out there. If you still believe in Bernie Sanders, research Venezuela. I'm serious. Look into Venezuela.
Yeah.
Because if you see what happened there, you're looking at the future if you elect Bernie Sanders.
Yep. That's the revolution that you want. So you want to have a revolution so you can live like those people, damn near starving to death. And it's like you said, Venezuela, they kind of had their shit together. I mean, for a while they had a major oil industry, major energy market, and they had a lot of mineral deposits, things like that. I mean, they had like a mining industry going on. They had industry, they had exportable product. Okay. And what happened was they let the socialists get in there, and because they thought that everybody's going to get wealth distribution. And that's always what they tell you in socialism. Oh, we're going to distribute the wealth. We're going to take the wealth away from those horrible rich people that create jobs and products. Okay. We're going to take all the money away from them. We're going to redistribute it to everybody else. But as we've seen in Venezuela, that's the promise. But the reality is the money stays at the top. It doesn't trickle down to anybody else. But these kids in America, they think they're so soft. They think that I'm going to get something for free. We're going to get free health care. We're going to get free this. We're going to get free that. My question to those kids is, listen, when's the last time in your lifetime, ever in your lifetime, where the United States government stuck its hand in something and actually improved the situation? When's the last?
Or gave you something for free without strings attached.
Right. Never happened to me. And I'm pushing fit. Never happened to me.
No.
Yeah. So, but that's the lie of socialism, and we have screwed our kids up because we've allowed the liberal left to have all the influence in our public education system, and that's why we've got kids that won't stand for the flag and all this other bullshit, and that's the problem right there because of the teachers. So That's why I'm hoping that Trump's doing something about this, because we need to come up with one curriculum, one criteria for everybody, for all students, and this is what you teach. And if you don't want to teach it that way, guess what? Go find another damn job. Go find something else to do with your time, because teachers are going to teach this curriculum. Like, I mean, we learned the good, bad, and the ugly of history when I was going through school in the 80s. I mean, we learned the Civil War, we learned about the Holocaust. And I can honestly say that I can't remember a single teacher that ever got political in one of my classrooms. It would have been frowned upon. I mean, it probably would have got somebody in trouble, to tell you the truth, back in those days. But now what we've done here is we've turned the American classroom into a friggin' petri dish that allows any teacher to go ahead and teach what they want, teach the world as they see it, instead of a standard curriculum. And that's what's happening here. That's why our kids are weak and worthless.
That says before free government subsidized college, it was more affordable, higher quality. Same with healthcare. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, because there was competition. They had to give you a better product.
Right.
When Uncle Sam steps in and starts paying the bill, well, then they can start cutting the corners on their product. And it's just like anything else. Yeah, I believe that.
Right. I live in a state that's highly medical. I live about 40 miles away from Mayo Clinic. So I am very aware of what they've done to the medical system and how that has been affected by can't even say the word, subsidization.
Mm-hmm.
And the way they've changed the insurance policies and such, it has made some medical care unreachable for some. Mm-hmm. And that has turned into their death sentence because they just can't afford to have cancer treatment, mm-hmm. or they can't afford to have a tumor taken off, or they can't afford to have diabetic treatment because of the subsidized programs that were put in place by the last administration. Now, maybe it was meant to help, but it has since been perverted to where it does not help.
Right.
It only hurts those who really, really need it. In regards to the penalties that were put in place for people that didn't get health insurance, I hope that was overridden. Has that been overridden yet?
There's no longer an individual mandate. Trump killed that last year, I believe, year before.
Good. Well, see, there's something that Trump did that was very good for the population. He got rid of the penalty if you didn't have health insurance.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, why should you be penalized if you can't afford health insurance? That is wrong.
If you can't afford to pay for health insurance, you can't afford to pay the fine. But
right.
That's government thinking for you right there.
Right. And they were taking that money and using that money to enforce the free subsidization program.
Oh, or give
it so actually they were taking your money that you were levied as a penalty and using it to give to other programs, mm-hmm. and saying that they came up with the money. See, they get the credit for doing something good when in essence, they are harming you.
Yeah, right. It's nice. It's got a nice, pretty box. It's got a nice, pretty bow on it. But as soon as you rip off the wrapping paper and undo the bow, it's a box of shit. It is. And that's what we're teaching people, that the government can take care of you better than you can take care of yourself. Okay. That's the whole thing about the whole premise of Bernie Sanders right there. You can't take care of yourself. Let the government do it for you.
Almost sounds like the military. If you think about it.
Yeah.
If you elect Bernie, we'll give you your house and your clothes and your food, and we'll give you your transportation and your entertainment, blah, blah, blah. And you'll be satisfied. That'll be your life.
Socialist and communist societies are always so heavily militarized. That's why.
There you go. There you go.
Okay, what else happened this week? Let me go through the. Okay, we talked about the commie.
Other than Super Tuesday and Bloomberg choking and quitting, which I still find hilarious, because he said like 2 hours before he quit, he said publicly, somebody said to him, well, why haven't you thrown in the towel and coalesced your vote around Joe Biden?
Mm-hmm. He was
and Bloomberg said, well, why don't they coalesce around me?
Yeah.
And then 2 hours later, he threw in the towel. I mean, what's up with that?
The bottom line of that being that guy just $500 million could have gone a long way to do a lot of good things in this world, okay, in this country. It really could have. But instead, he thought that he's going to get out there, and he thought, you know what, if you pump enough money into the election, you can fool the American people into becoming the favorite and becoming president. All right. But again, the guy is about as likable as hemorrhoids. He really is, bleeding hemorrhoids. And we said earlier, if he wasn't ready for Elizabeth Warren to turn right off the bat, and ask him about his non-disclosure agreements with his female employees, the guy's an idiot. I mean, how anybody would have saw that coming? I mean, a 16-year-old high school student in debate team would have seen that question coming, but for whatever reason,
right, exactly. Shit. Dot Connector said communists took away gun ownership, then killed over 100 million of their own people in the 20th century.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah. Karl Marx, Lenin. I mean, we know the list, the history of the lesson of communism. And that's why that we shit canned it so many decades ago, because we've seen it. I mean, even in I don't know how old you are, Dot, but I'm almost 50. But so in my lifetime, I mean, I still lived under the Cold War. I think I was told that my generation in school was like the first generation in school that didn't do the old duck and cover drills underneath the desks. You know what I mean? I guess I was one of the first generations that didn't do that.
Our generation didn't do it either, and I think I'm one before you. Even.
Yeah. So yeah,
we didn't do it either.
But like our parents, they did big time. So it was no secret how bad the Soviet Union was to its people. Secret police, tortures, interrogations. I mean, this shit wasn't
KGB was like the SS.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Yep. Only with better equipment.
Yeah.
But we've got Bernie Sanders out there. Oh, it'll be different this time. No, it won't. It won't be different this time. The first thing they're going to try to do, excuse me, the first thing that they're going to try to do is, like Dot said, they're going to try to take the weapons from the civilian population, because that's removing the threat. Okay? Because once you lose those firearms, once you lose the ability to fight back, i.e. Venezuela, okay, then you can't fight back. Then you cannot overturn an unjust and corrupt government. That's why we have the Second Amendment. I mean, people don't read that. It's all right there. It's pretty clear. Tyrannical government.
Right. And right now we're really close to having a tyrannical left.
Yeah. Virginia is.
Yeah, Virginia is. Yeah. I can honestly say this. There have been some other states that have been talking about seceding from the Union. One of them, I think, was California, which I'd love to see that happen, because number one, California is so broke. They need federal government money just to stay afloat.
Yep.
They can't succeed. If they would, they'd be cutting their own throat. But I've heard of countries wanting to do it. Texas, I think, was one in the last election. They were talking about it.
Right.
But all I know is we need to come together. We need to come together as a country. We need to come together as a people, and we need to come together as a political parties. We can't continue doing this unnecessary, backstabbing, two-faced, lying, crappy politics that's going on now. We cannot continue to do this. We need to change the way we look at the world and look at each other, because we're one big family here. And right now we got brother stabbing brother in the back, And that's not right.
It's like I said, I think on our last live stream, if I'm not mistaken, but to rehash that, you know, in the 80s and 90s, 2000s, I mean, I had, a bunch of neighbors. I lived in this condo complex, partied all the time, just partied with them constantly. And to this day, I mean, and it went on for years. I mean, we lived there. I lived there for like 7 years. Okay. So all the parties and all the hell raising and all the things that we did together as a group, I have no idea what the political affiliation any of those people are. I have no clue if they're Democrat, Republicans, and I don't know because nobody gave a damn. It just never came up. We were just people.
Right. We're just
Now,
people.
yeah, but now if you're a Trump supporter, you're automatically seen as a racist, a sexist, a homophobe, a blah 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 blah, all the worst things in society, because that's what the politicians on the left have told their feeble-minded constituents, and they believe it. Like we've said before, once it goes right here into the feeble-minded, that's it. It's in there for life. They don't care.
Yeah, see, we can't even wear anything that protests what our beliefs are.
Right.
So if I were to wear a Trump train hat here where I live, I would catch so much flack because the majority of the people here are left wing. And I know that. So I don't wear it. Why? Because I don't want to catch hell. All
Yeah.
right. If I want to start something, then I will wear the hat. Well, I don't have the hat right now, but I do have a temporary flag until Tommy gets it. And then he'll have it and he'll be able to display it. But what I'm going to say to you is this: you should have the freedom of expression.
Yeah.
We used to have that, but we don't have it anymore, because if you did, you would be able to wear a Trump hat, or you'd be able to fly a Trump flag and not be called a racist.
You only have freedom of speech if you agree with the left. If you do not agree with the left, then you do not have freedom of speech. I mean, that's pretty, I mean, it is what it is. And I can't believe it. It's like I say all the time, go back in your mind back into the 80s. Could you have ever imagined that the things that we'd be seeing, the things that we're seeing politically and the turmoil in this country, socially? I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, of all the things, I could have seen aliens taking out the planet before I could have seen what we're going through right now 20 years ago.
When I have to say this real quick, Tommy, when I take a look at the democratic situation in the country, I actually can picture a small child with an ice cream cone, and his older brother, a Republican, let's say, walks up to him and steals the ice cream cone. And the little kid starts screaming and yelling and bellowing, and mommy, my ice cream cone was taken. My ice cream cone was taken. What are you going to do for me? I need to have change. And the older brother gets in trouble for taking the ice cream cone, of course. And the little kid gets all the ice cream he wants, because he screamed, yelled, and bellowed. Right. That's what I see.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. I get that the squeaky wheel gets the grease and all that, but the squeaky wheel has to make some sense. All right, it has to be
exactly
logical.
Yeah.
And when you go out there to vote for a guy that says he's a socialist, is really a communist, and when he gets on media programs and they ask him, well, how much is all this going to cost? Oh, well, I don't know. You don't know. You don't even have an estimate. I mean, you have a policy that you're out there providing to the public, to your potential voters, and you don't even know how much that shit costs. I mean, come on, man.
You don't know the numbers, then don't be spouting the policy, right?
Yeah.
Dot Connector says, those who truly believe in freedom welcome all opinions, whether they agree with them or not. Yes, right. Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, we used to learn from each other's differences. That was something that we used to learn from each other from or with. Okay, but now we can't do that anymore, because I mean, and you see, like, there's this a restaurant. Let me find it here. Hang on a second here. No Trump hats in the restaurant. One second here. I just saw this like yesterday. Okay, restaurant owner bans Make America Great hats. then apologizes. Well, of course, because I mean, when you have a business that depends on the public, and in this case, a restaurant, okay, you want everybody's dollar, right? Everybody's money's green. It doesn't matter where they're from, doesn't matter what color they are, doesn't matter what sex they are. You want that money. And for these idiots to throw their political opinions into their businesses and say, oh, well, you know what? Fuck half the country. I don't want your business. Then when they stop getting half that business, that's when they start crying foul.
Right, exactly.
It happens all the time. Where was that? I wish I had more prepared.
Whatever happened to the statement, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all? Whatever happened to that comment?
It was taken over by me, 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 me. I want it now.
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So there is no liberty for all. There is no justice for all. It's all left wing.
Right. And if you don't travel the same road as the left, then you are a bad person. You are a racist or a sexist or a homophobe. I mean, I could go on to the is or isms list for 25 minutes here. Okay.
And we wouldn't cover them all either.
Right. Right.
Because they'd make up a new one, like you're a whirlwindism.
You know, they keep talking about how Trump supporters are so violent and there's so much racism out there. Racism. Well, if there's so much goddamn racism out there, then how's come Jesse Smollett, just to name one, had to actually create his own attack? I mean, he had to create a racist attack.
Yep, he created his own attack.
I'm not like, I lived in Florida for 10 years, Central Florida. I've seen the stars and bars flags like you would not believe, but I never met a racist down there. In fact, the only racist I've ever known that I could honestly put a pin on the donkey, tail on the donkey, and say you're a racist is a black guy I went to high school with. I just found that out a couple of years ago. He's a hardcore racist. Really hurt my feelings too. I really liked the guy back in the day.
I've met a few people, but most of them are black that are either anti-American or anti-white or whatever. But yeah, I've met a few. But I can honestly say they're still American. Yeah. And that's the way we need to look at each other. Not by race, but by the fact that we're American.
We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. Well,
right.
And it used to be that way again in the 80s and the 90s. And I mean, I'm like from the Cincinnati area, so I saw some race riots and things like that. Things like that have happened over the years. But for the most part, we weren't running around screaming everything is racist. If you don't agree with a black person, oh, that's because you're racist. If you didn't like Obama, and my mother will tell you this one, my mother will say, well, the reason people didn't like Obama because he was black, because they're racist. How about he just sucked as a president? How about he just didn't have a damn clue? I mean, could it just be that? But no, it can't just be that. You just can't have a bad opinion of Obama. You have to have a bad opinion of Obama because you're a friggin' racist. It's like I asked Mom, I was like, Mom, you know me. Am I a racist? No. Well, I think Obama sucked as a president. So you'd almost see him in their brains, man. And when you got someone in your family like that, it hurts.
Yeah, I bet it does. Well, I got to tell you this: everybody in my family, including the sister I'm closest to, is left wing.
Mm-hmm.
But they're just not seeing it the way I see it. They're seeing it differently. They're seeing it the glossed over way. The glossy poster versus the matte poster. They're seeing the glossiness of the idea of socialism or of
they see the
Joe Biden. See, what they're thinking about is Trump being removed from office. They're not thinking about what would a Joe Biden administration do for the country.
Mm-hmm.
They're not thinking about that. They don't know what it would do for our country. In fact, it may even be so detrimental that our country would go under.
Yeah.
And they're not looking at it. You got to look at it with a realistic viewpoint. You got to do your research. You can't just accept someone based on a good TV ad or a good political ad endorsing Bernie Sanders, or
Yep.
you think he looks like your grandfather, so you're gonna endorse him, or because your friend's going for Bernie Sanders, so you're gonna go for Bernie
Right.
Sanders, or your friend's going for Joe Biden because you hate Trump.
Yeah. It's like they always said, the road to hell's paved in gold.
So what I'd like to know is, if you hate Trump, what is your real reason for hating him? Is it because what the media is telling you? Or is it because you have an innate interior inside your body, you got an innate hate for the man? And
Yeah.
if so, where is that coming from?
Yep.
Because he hasn't done a dang thing to justify those feelings. And it's been proven.
It's like I said before, we've got a big portion of this country that is only interested in looking up, directly up the asshole of the lemming in front of them. They're not going to look left. They're not going to look right. They're going to look right up the ass of the lemming in front of them. They're going to follow that lemming wherever it goes. And that's what we have. That's what you see. That's the Sanders supporter. And really, even in any kind of Democrat at this point, I think that's what they're all about. They'll completely ignore the shortcomings or misdeeds of a Democrat. They don't even want to talk about it. They don't want to. They'll never want to investigate themselves. You know, they keep talking about. And someone said something very interesting. I think it was Tim Allen, I believe, recently. He said that the people on the left in this government, in the United States government, they're completely obsessed with foreign governments interfering in our elections. They are obsessed with this. However, they want to give the foreign people that are here illegally the right to vote in our elections, thereby meddling in our elections. I mean, that was a great, I thought it was a great statement. You know, he's right. He's right. Tell me there's a sitting Democrat in the United States government right now that, given the chance, wouldn't immediately give voting rights to illegal immigrants. Just like that. Tell me there's not, I mean, as far as the Democrats are concerned.
I honestly cannot think of one.
No.
No.
Maybe Chuck Manchin, maybe. And he'd probably cave. And that's the way it is. They want those votes. They don't care. They want those votes from an uneducated people. Because they know,
unless of course they get greased palms with a little bit of dineros, you know.
oh, that's true.
There's a lot of backdoor trading, so you never know.
Yeah.
By the way, you're sporting a really cool hat tonight, Tommy. Had to tell you.
And Dot, I wanted to thank you for that sub. Thanks a lot. I appreciate that. Everyone counts.
Yeah, thanks, Dot.
Yeah. We do this kind of often. Tim's got the UFO Man channel, so if you're into UFOs and strange things and all that,
French science,
them out as well. Yeah, because we have a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun over there too.
Yeah, we're probably going to be doing a live stream over there tomorrow. So if you want to come over to that one, that'd be great.
Mm-hmm. So it's a lot lighter.
It's lighter, yeah.
Yeah. What do you think, Tim? You want to button it up for the evening, or?
Sure, sounds good to me, Tommy.
All right. Well, Dot, and anybody else out there, I really appreciate you coming by. Thanks a lot for that subscription.
Yeah, thanks for coming, Dot.
Yeah, you know, it's just good to know that we've got people out there that are, you know, like-minded, like Tim and I are, you know, that can see through the mask of bullshit that you know, that can use logic, and it's good to know that, man. Thank you for coming by.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Yeah. All right, then we are out of here in 3, 2, 1, and.